Welcome back to Cityline. Well, I am so excited about this guest because this guest does something every single day that I, in a perfect world, would do, but I never tried, so there's that. I'm talking about, I have with me the hot shop director of the Museum of Glass here in Tacoma. Welcome to Cityline, Benjamin Cobb.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Amanda. This is great.
It's more than welcome. And can I call you Ben?
Absolutely.
Because probably only your parents call you Benjamin.
Yeah, when I get in trouble.
Yeah, and a middle name gets thrown in there too.
It really does.
Ben, there is a new exhibition. It's called What Are You Looking At? I love that. An eccentric chorus of artists working in glass on view at our beloved Museum of Glass that you co-curated. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, we were approached by the museum. Ben Wright, who is the artistic director at Pilchuck, and I were asked to put together an exhibition, kind of an overview of the artists who have participated in the residency program here at the museum, as well as the residency program at the Pilchuck Glass School. And what resulted is what you can see on view now in our gallery. And it's pretty awesome.
So, Ben, this is what you do every day. And you see a tremendous amount of artists that come through the hot shop that just, I mean, they're everywhere. How did you go about selecting artists for this exhibition, given the vast numbers that you see all the time?
That's a great question and fairly difficult, but we started with our permanent collection here at the museum. And we, scanned it for all the artists who had participated in both programs over the past 18 years. And as we did so, we sort of whittled it down. Of course, scale comes into play. I mean, and I think we could have filled the entire museum if we tried. But it was difficult. And it was nice to know that both Ben Wright and I's sort of aesthetic eye were drawn to similar artists. So we looked at established artists who had participated. We looked at mid-career artists who had participated, as well as emerging artists. And the idea was to kind of look at those artists and how these residencies impacted their practice. And working every day on the hot shop floor and working alongside many of these folks, I think one of the golden nuggets there is getting to know them as individuals and getting to know their story and understanding what and why they make. That's really awesome. And so at the end of the day, having the work from the artist's standard practice, as well as the work that was created out of these residencies, and having them sort of paired together, for me is a total highlight, because there's so many people that I admire in the exhibition, and it's great to see that work here. And then you can compare and contrast it to sort of where their thought processes and ideas went when they were in the hot shop here at the museum.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you get to see the end result of what could potentially be in the exhibit.
Right.
And your day-to-day role at the museum is hot shop director. What's the process of curating this exhibition like for you? Because those responsibilities just don't go away during the day. And two Bens on the same team. You guys must have been the Ben team the whole time. So how did you make all this work, Ben? Because glass breaks.
Sure. Yeah. It came at a really interesting time, and, COVID impacted us in so many ways, but when at the height of the pandemic, we actually weren't blowing glass. So I had a little extra time on my hands. And that allowed me a good period of time to sort of research and sort of look at the artists and reach out to them and make sure that they would be willing to participate. So, of course, none of that was done. It wasn't all accomplished while we weren't blowing glass. And so when you get back to work, I don't know, time management, long days, it was tough kind of juggling both parts, but it's something that I feel like I'm still young enough that I can endure juggling all those things.
Absolutely, while working in 3,000 degree heat. No problem. So it sounds like the Museum of Glass and Pilchuck Glass School partnership is an important one for artists. I mean, Glass is a very tiny community. It seems like everybody knows everybody. If you've ever sat in the hot shop and watched a guest artist, or if you've ever watched Blown Away on Netflix, they all know each other. So can you share a little bit about the roles you each play?
Sure. It's interesting. You mentioned that the glass community is small, and it is, but it's very global. So for my 26 years in making glass, I've gotten to know friends, and in some cases, some people I consider family, and they're spread across the continents. They're everywhere, and that's been a real pleasure. The museum, when we opened our doors in 2002, are again relatively unknown place. Museum of Glass. What are we? What are we doing? What are you looking at? But then, the Pilchuck Glass School has been around since the 70s. They're celebrating their 50-year anniversary this year, and looking at those two things, it was sort of a no-brainer for us to reach out to them and say, hey, could we establish some sort of partnership? So about 2004, that started, and they have a well-established artist in residence program, and they reach out a lot into the fine art world, not just the glassmaking world, where artists are invited in to experiment over a 1 to 2 week period at the school. Now, partnering with them gave us access to artists that weren't necessarily on our radar. And typically the artists would want to participate because it sort of extended this residency period. So if they're at Pilchuck for a couple of weeks, they get to explore certain threads and processes up there. And then they come down here to the museum where they have a focused 5 days in the hot shop with a crew provided for them of expert craftspeople in which we could sort of move through their ideas. So those two things working in conjunction were so important for artists for all artists to be able to participate in. Glass can be an expensive and cost prohibitive material to work in. So the idea of these two things are so important for the development and career, especially for emerging artists in particular, but for exploration and material and to keep inspiration going. It's a fantastic opportunity that both places afford many artists.
Absolutely. I mean, when I think about that partnership, Ben, is there another partnership in the industry that is like that? Does the Corning School have something like that?
I'm not aware that the Corning Museum has anything sort of on that level, and I'm sure there's regional partnerships. I'm not totally aware of that, and I do know that the Corning Museum has started to have more residencies. Mm-hmm. They've been based on certain other institutions that they've made. However, I'm not aware of their relationships and such, but I'm sure that there's some there.
I love that. Ben, you have been, and we call it MOG, don't we? Museum of Glass.
This is true.
Since the beginning, which it's incredible for me to think about that, because I've lived in Tacoma now for 27 years, and I remember when the Glass Museum opened, and it was, none of us could get our heads around the bridge. We couldn't stop looking up and just breaking our necks at the ceiling of the bridge. And then we eventually went, oh, wait, there's more in the museum. So can you talk with us about what makes the museum special, and especially how it's evolved over the years? Because there was no partnership in the beginning, and there wasn't people sitting down taking classes, and there wasn't a Netflix show.
Right. I think that when we first opened our doors, again, there's a lot of excitement. What is it going to be? What is it going to become? And being a part of that growth and seeing things change and how we evolved it's been a blast. Nothing short of exciting at times. As we started to see the potential of what glass can do, we've developed so many different programs. And of course, our Visiting Artist residency program has grown, and we have an application process for people to apply to come here. We've partnered with the Hilltop artists over the years to work with their students and sort of mentor them along the way and help them out and as they graduate. Our Hot Shop Heroes program, which works with folks transitioning out of the military and back into civilian life, as well as veterans. And it's, again, glassblowing being a team sport, so to speak, is very, again, it's art therapy and pretty rewarding in that regard. Now that we have a mobile glassblowing studio, and we've had that for a period of time now, but we're able to take glassblowing out into the communities here in Tacoma and further, so we can take it beyond the walls of the cone. So there's all these different aspects that we can do, and it's to help educate and open people's eyes to the possibilities of art and glass and what it can be.
Absolutely. Ben, one of the things that always gets me when I get to watch glass being blown is the artist's ability to recover once it hits the floor and go back at it again. When I watched that the first time, I thought, how do you not just break down and cry and want to run out of the hot shop or go, I need a break? So as an artist, what do you want viewers to know about glass in the Pacific Northwest that maybe we wouldn't know by just watching?
If you don't want it to break, don't make it out of glass.
Well, there we go. That should be on a t-shirt.
But yeah, that should be on a t-shirt. And it could be. The Pacific Northwest is the hotbed for glass making in this country, and to an extent, the world. This is the place to be. And it really started with some small studios. Benjamin Moore Incorporated in Seattle was one of the places that had a crew sort of similar to ours, where artists would come in and work with them to make things, objects out of glass. And so our visiting artist program is closely akin to that. And that started, 40 years ago at BMI. And now that this area has grown and glass has grown through the Netflix show, a lot of attention has come to it. So there's a lot more, I would say, artists sort of have become aware of glass and are interested in experimenting with it. So I think maybe that's a little feather in our cap out here in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, I think so. And if I were to hand you my phone and you were to look on my Instagram, you would find I follow glass artists so much because they do such amazing work. And it's the best thing to look at before you go to bed, because you can't help but be in a beautiful mood once you watch someone make something like that. Ben, thank you to you and the other Ben, and to everybody on your team that we could not get in this interview. I know you continue to create beautiful art in the hot shop. And from one artist to another, I want to say thank you so much for still being there and for making the holidays so beautiful.
All right. Well, thanks so much again for the wonderful time and the questions. This is fantastic. So come on down, check out the exhibit.
Exactly. This is not the end. I want you back in here in the springtime because, with spring comes new glass.
It does. And just real quick, in the spring, middle of May, we're hosting the annual Glass Art Society conference, and the Museum of Glass will be the host organization here in Tacoma. It's really going to be a large community event. This should be the first in-person conference in a couple of years. And we're working with several of our partner institutions here in town. And we're looking to have north of 1,100 people over a period of about 3 days in the city. And so there'll be glass everywhere, here at the museum, over at LeMay, exhibitions at TAM, exhibitions here at the museum. So it'll be a pretty fantastic event. And hopefully, I don't know, maybe in the spring we can talk about it.
I was going to say, you better pencil us in. And Fred's not going to lose your contact because you have a date with us right back here on Cityline. Or if we are in the studio, you and I on the comfy couch with a coffee table full of glass.
Sounds good. I'll make sure I'm wearing some good socks as well.
Ah, that's right. Ben, thank you so much for being here. We have much more to come on Cityline. Don't go away. We'll be right back.